What's going on? We're back with another edition of the ATL 3-Style Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Leo G. We're here to talk some Atlanta sports and do what we do. Gonna give you a little short and condensed version this evening as we wrap up this weekend's festivities, college football, NFL, NBA. Had a lot of stuff going on, but we'll only talk about a couple of things tonight. Before I get too far off into the show, got to pass it over to my co-host. We'll start out, my man on the south side. What's going on, Banks?
How you doing? How you doing, Leo? How you feeling? Derek, how you feeling, brother?
Fantabulous, my brothers. Monday after a long weekend.
Absolutely. Had a long weekend, had a great weekend of college football. Also, we had NFL action, NBA action. Also, MLS Cup just happened as well. So, yeah, had a lot to get into, had a lot to buckle in and watch. Also, coming up on that final round of high school football here in Georgia. We know how big high school football is in Georgia going into the state championships, man. A lot of stuff going on with that. So, yeah, it was a very, very big weekend on the sports front. Before we get too far off into the show, you know what we got to do. Banks, man, how about we do this, man? How about you tell everybody about my man out there on the east side, man? Let's go.
Well, let me check you out, Eastland Woodworking Company. Check out my boy Phil, man. He can hook you up with any ashtray, any coasters, anything you want hanging on your wall. You know, that's personalized, or if it's just something you just want to have a sports team that you rep. Mess with my boy Phil, Eastland Woodworking Company. Hit that QR code, support my brother.
Definitely, man. Hit that QR code, man, to support our boy Phil. We'll definitely be putting that back up towards the end of our show. Also, got to definitely give it to our other partner over there at BEZ Moisturizer and Beard Conditioning Spray. Still working for me pretty well. It don't do nothing for the gray, but it's still giving my beard some nice sheen and a nice conditioning, man. We'll put the contact info toward the end of the show as well. BEZ Moisturizer and Conditioning Spray. Shout out to my boy Bachi over there doing it big with this product. All right, fellas, without further ado, let's get into it. The condensed version of the show tonight, the ATL 3-Style Podcast, as we usually do. We'll skip all the other stuff. We'll bring that back for a later date, but we got a lot to kind of dig into. And the first thing I want to dig into, Derrico, is the college football playoffs have been announced. But before we talk about the teams that made it, let's talk about the lineup of games that happened over the course of Friday and Saturday night. You had a couple of big games that happened. Notably, let's talk about the SEC, Big Ten, Mountain West, and the ACC, because those games kind of control where the seating was with the college football playoffs. Derrico, any surprises this weekend in any of the games, or did these games go as planned? And we'll dig a little bit into some of them as we go along, but did you feel like this kind of was the plan of how these championships were going to go?
Sort of, kind of, yeah. I'm going to be honest. We dog fans, but I said it was going to be hard to beat a good team twice. So I thought Texas might have squeaked that thing out, but we know in the end what happened. But that's like the only really thing that I, saw as far as being a surprise. I was hoping SMU was going to pull it out over Clemson, being that I'm one of them Cinderella kind of feel-good teams. So I was hoping that they was going to pull that thing out. I don't know if that was an upset or not. It might have been. Should have been. Could have been. But who knows? But we see. But they still made the playoffs, so we good. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. SMU did sneak in there. We'll talk about that in just a minute. I feel the same way like you, Derrico, man. Had a bunch of big matchups, but I think everything kind of fell into place. The only game I think I was pretty shocked was the beating that Arizona State put on out there in that championship. Want to say they played Iowa State, right? Then they play who did they play out there in that championship? They played Iowa State. They put a beat smackdown on them, and we'll talk about them in just a minute in their seeding. But everything else kind of went according to how I thought it would go. SMU gave a dog fight to Clemson, and all the other games kind of, I figured the teams would win. I just didn't know about how much and what kind of games we would have. Banks, do you feel the same way that this weekend kind of shook out the way you thought it would?
Absolutely. Everything fell into place exactly how it was scripted. I looked at across, even the Big Ten, checking out Oregon, and was at Penn State. I had Oregon going all the way. So no big surprise here, Leo. Everything went is status quo. Everything went how it's supposed to go.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked the Oregon Penn State game. Penn State's offense surprisingly did better than I thought they would watching that game. But of course, Oregon just had too many ponies and they just kind of ran away from them, man. Oregon is going to be a real problem in this playoffs, and we'll get into that here in just a minute. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it, fellas. Like Derrico just said, we are Georgia fans, so let's talk about the SEC championship. First thing I would like to talk about before we actually talk about the game was we didn't get a chance to record on this previous weekend before going into championship weekend, was the fact that Georgia was sitting here going into the SEC championship, and I didn't know if this was a reward or a punishment. Banks, obviously now we know the outcome. Georgia did beat Texas in overtime to win the SEC championship. But going into that game, it kind of felt like this was a punishment, not so much a reward. I mean, we felt like Georgia could possibly make it into the college football playoffs without winning the SEC title, but it was a double-edged sword because it was an extra game. And then if you lost, you would have been trying to fight for positioning in the college playoff seeding. How did you feel about where Georgia stood before they went into that game against Texas?
Well, like Kirby Smart said at the end of that game, he kind of like backhanded Sankey about, having to play on the road to do what Georgia did all the way up to that point. Finally, we get to have a rest where we can, get healthy and, get back to this thing. But I think it's something that needs to be said. I think in further down the future, I don't know how they're going to expand the playoffs or whatever, but maybe they need to do away with the championship game. It seemed to me like I can see something coming down the pipe that it may not mean as much to win your conference, and it may not even mean it if you lose it. I mean, it's just like, so what's the point? So just don't have it, and let's just do top 4 teams that's willing to go. I mean, I don't know. I feel like that extra game is unnecessary. Our quarterback got hurt in that game, so I don't know, dude. I just feel like it's getting to a point where now we got to start asking some questions about it.
Hey man, it's funny you should say that because I feel as though eventually it's going to have to be looked at. It was never going to be perfect, and we'll get into it in just a minute. But I think this time, with the way the conference championships played out, I think the seeding actually got right. And Georgia did catch a break by winning that game, but at what cost, like you just said, Banks, by losing your starting quarterback Carson Beck. Passing it over to you, Derrico, same question, man. How did you feel about Georgia going into that game and where they would be either outcome, whether they lost or whether they won that championship?
In the back of my mind, I was really saying, hey, you can't punish a team for losing in the conference championship game when that's supposed to be like the goal for each conference. You know what I'm saying? The fact that they was trying to backdoor another team in there, I'm like, come on. If you're trying to backdoor another team with 3 losses in the thing, but you're trying to say that you're going to kick another team out that had 3 losses because they lost in their conference championship, then that would have been some BS. But like y'all saying, it's going to need some tweaking, and based on some of the conversations I've already heard, they explain pretty much what decisions were made, how they were made. So I think, they got it right, and I'm glad that they didn't backdoor that other team in there just because they're from the SEC. SMU actually deserved to get in there. Would have appreciated it if Clemson didn't get in there. But, that's another story, another day for me, because y'all know I cannot stand Clemson at all.
Hey, well, look, I think that, everything shook out. Georgia was actually in, and we didn't have to go to any drama about where they would be. Like you said, Banks, at what cost, losing Carson Beck. But, I mean, hey, in that championship game, while we're talking about Georgia and Texas, man, hey, we had another guy that stepped up. Fellas, we talked all year. We'll go into a little bit about this game, but we talked all year about Carson Beck and his inconsistency. I guess that's the best word that I can use. He had a stretch of games there, man, that he just did not look very good. Obviously, like you said, Banks, the Georgia schedule was brutal. They had the number 1 strength of schedule in all of college football, and they were road warriors. They had to go on the road and play a lot of tough teams. They had to play Texas on the road, Ole Miss on the road, Alabama on the road. So it was tough sledding for them. So then we get to the championship game here against Texas. As we know, we beat them in Austin. It's hard to beat a team twice. Lost Carson Palmer going into halftime, and then out comes Gunnar Stockton.
Who?
And I'm sorry.
Who you said? You know, I'm
Who
gonna call you out. Just mess with
what did I
you.
say?
You call that dude Carson Palmer.
You meant Carson Beck.
my apologies. My apologies, Carson Beck. We lose. Hey man, players mess up. Players mess up. Listen, so we lose Carson Beck going into the half, trying to make a play to score before the halftime, and then we had to bring out Gunnar Stockton, man. And we hadn't seen much of him. Obviously, he came out in cleanup duty after Georgia had, pretty much mollywopped a couple of teams here in the season. Giving it over to you, Derrico, man. This game was a hard-fought game. We knew it would be. We knew Texas wasn't going to come in and lay down, and it was fought all 4 quarters, and then we had to go into OT. Gunnar Stockton comes in and obviously breathed some life into the offense and did what he did. We've been saying all along, who's behind Carson and what can they do? But we had an opportunity to see it in this game, and this young man did not disappoint. Granted that he didn't have a lot of playing time, but he stepped up in a major way when it really, really counted, right?
You know what I'm gonna do for you? I'm gonna help you out tonight because we ain't did this in a while. Since you said really, 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 I'm gonna take one for you. I'm gonna take one for the team. I'm gonna take one for the team. Now, to get back to your question. You know what's so funny and cute about this is we've lost 2 SEC championship games the way we won this past weekend with a backup quarterback coming in and taking over. So I was just cheesing, thrilled, because that usually is what happens to us when we're winning a game in the SEC championship when a quarterback change is made. So with that being said, we didn't know, like we was talking about earlier, like the backup quarterback. Who's the backup quarterback? Who's the backup quarterback? Like, what is it gonna do? What is it gonna do? I was thoroughly surprised that Gunnar came in and handled his business like a big boy. So right now, kudos to Gunnar. I hope you're getting yourself together. You got 2 weeks because we don't know the extent of Beck's injury. I hope it's not significant where he's going to miss any time. But just in case, Gunnar, you got to be ready to roll. And I just love the way that this. I almost thought about something. You know what I didn't think was going to happen? A low-scoring game. I really did. I thought it was going to be more points put up. So the fact that both defenses played a little bit harder than I anticipated, that would make the game more interesting to me because I like good defense. I know some people like a lot of offense, but I like good defense.
Yeah, obviously, they came out, man. I knew it was going to be a fight. It's hard to beat a team twice, given the circumstances. But, I think there was only one team that with the realignment went in and won the conference championship, and I think that was Oregon. Clemson, obviously, won the ACC, and then Georgia obviously spoiling the fun for Texas and winning the SEC in their inaugural year in the SEC. Banks, over to you, man. Gunnar Stockton comes in, Carson Beck goes out. Like Derrico said, we've seen Georgia lose championships and games in this manner, but Georgia was able to find a way to pull this one out. And then given the fact that they had just come off an emotional 8 overtime win against their state rival, to come out here and have to do this all over again, man. I mean, these kids they would not quit, man. They were up for the challenge. And then when Gunnar came in, everybody had kind of a pep in their step. You saw the defense play a little harder. You saw the offensive line block a little harder. They just wanted it more, and they proved it, and they went out and they did their thing.
Absolutely, man. To see that when Gunnar Stockton, he even got his bell rung right before the play that ended the game, you can see the players wanting that want. When Carson Beck had to come in with one arm, mind you, he ran out there, he couldn't even move the arm, and everyone and their mama knew we're running the ball. It was no secret. But those guys on that front said, you know what Garner Stockton just did and just got lit up, we're going to end this right now. We ended this right now. How many times we've seen in the season where the offensive line kind of just faltered? I mean, it's shocking because it's Georgia, but that particular moment right then and there, that felt like Georgia football. And my guys are better than your guys. We're going to run it. Stop it. And I loved it.
Yeah, a lot of parity in college football we've seen this year. We've talked about the NIL kind of leveling the playing field. Obviously, today we had people jumping to the transfer portal. So this college football, as we know it now, is going into it's got the landscape of it is going to look totally different, guys. We're talking about this 12 team playoff now. But like you said, Banks, who knows where this will end up in the next couple of years? Are we going to go to super conferences? What is this going to look like here in the next 4 to 5 years? Obviously, revenue is still going to be a big factor when we talk about college football, as with any sport, right? College football makes a lot of money. So that's always going to be a factor when you start talking about, postseason and bowl games and things of that nature. So let's get into it, fellas. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how the college football playoff brackets lined up. And I kind of go through this piece by piece, and I'll put the first 4 seeds in, and then we'll talk about the actual play-in games that these guys will have to play in to get to the bowl game. So the first things first, let's talk about 1, 2, 3, and 4. We got Oregon at number 1. We got Georgia at number 2. We have Arizona State at number 4, and we have Boise State at number 3. There was a little bit of kind of apprehension about was the committee going to reward, especially a team like Boise State and Arizona State for respectively winning their conferences. But I think in this situation, they got it right. I don't know, Banks, if you would disagree, but I feel like those teams are deserving to be 1, 2, 3, and 4 with buys, automatic play-ins to the bowl games.
Absolutely. I mean, why not? I mean, it's not the SEC. It's not the Big Ten. It's not the ACC. Okay, big whoop. Those guys played their games that was put in front of them. They won their games. They won their conferences. Reward them. That's just cut and dry. There is no other rebuttal to the fact that, okay, you don't play in the big known conference. Okay, but so what? Those guys in the big known conference losing games. So that's why they're not there. That's just my opinion. I just feel like if you're worthy and you did your business through the season, you need to be rewarded for it.
Absolutely. You got to get a shot. You got to get a seat at the table, especially like, teams like Boise State and Arizona State, they did what was asked and what somewhat of the criteria as to what the committee put out as to what they were going to be looking for when they did this 12 seed playoff. Derek Cole, same thing to you, man. Do you feel like the committee got this right with the top 4 teams and the buys going into the respective bowl games?
Absolutely. And y'all know I'm always a hater of our team. I'm just so happy that other team that ended up number 7 because they don't want to commit to a conference. I'm not going to call their names. So because you had a better record than one of those teams that's up there, boo-hoo cry. Until you commit to a conference in football, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be on the outside looking in, and then you're going to draw somebody in the first round that's going to put their foot in your tail. So, yes, they got it absolutely right, and I'm happy. And y'all know what team I'm talking about. I won't even give them the credit to call their name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we'll talk about that team, the team that we will not name here now, since we're going into the other teams that actually made it into the first round of the playoffs. The team that will not be named will actually be facing Indiana. They did draw the number 7 seed, and Indiana draw the number 10 seed. So they will be playing each other in the playoffs at that school up there in Indiana. And yes, Derek Cole, I totally agree with you, man. Having a non-conference schedule like they have, to me, you kind of can control your own destiny. You can cherry pick your opponents. You can play every service academy. No disrespect to the service academy, because Army obviously only lost 1 game, and that was to them. But I see the need for them to actually move into a conference, but because of the revenue that they receive and the TV contract that they have, I think that they will always forever stay that way. And with that being said, I mean, hey, you might be on the outside looking in, having to fight your way all the way to a championship if you're good enough to do so. Banks, talk a little bit about that game there. Indiana actually playing another school that's in that state. How do you feel about them and their non-conference schedule that they have, because they're not in the conference, they're independent, and them being seated where they are?
Listen, this is not a give me, and I don't want Notre Dame. I had to call their name because I got to get my point across. They basically, are dismissing the Hoosiers, and they already looking forward to Georgia. I had I heard an audio clip on the radio. I don't know who he was. He was some kind of beat writer for that particular organization, saying how they have the path to the championship. Because Georgia, they're good for 3 interceptions, and we got the best secondary in the country. Hold on, brother. Pull the reins back just a little bit. Okay, you ain't beat Indiana yet. Okay, Indiana can surprise you. You are that team that lost to Northern Illinois. Let's not forget that. Okay, you lost to Northern Illinois at home. Let's not play stupid. Okay, I mean, I know it happened 8 weeks, 9 weeks ago, whatever, but it happened. Okay, it happened. You let that team beat you, and you want to overlook Indiana? Don't, not so fast, brother. Not so fast. Don't worry about Georgia. You need to worry about them Hoosiers.
Hey, listen, I totally agree. They're gonna have their hands full with Indiana, in my opinion, and I think Indiana's gonna give them all it's worth. Fellas, this time is rolling, so we'll just get into the next couple of matchups. And if you guys want to hit anything, I do have one point that I want to bring up after we talk about a couple of these other matchups that I feel really needs to be driven home. But the other matchups, we got SMU versus Penn State. They will be taking on Boise State, if I'm not mistaken, who is already slotted for the Fiesta Bowl. We got Tennessee at Ohio State. Winner of that takes on Oregon in the Rose Bowl. And then we have Clemson versus Texas out in Austin. Winner of that comes to the Chick-fil-A Bowl and will face Arizona State. One of the big things I guess we'll talk about is SMU had a really great season, fought very, very hard in the ACC championship, and they were rewarded a slot in the college football playoffs. I think that is absolutely fantastic. Derrico, you were just saying that SMU deserved that slot, and I think the committee got it right.
They did, absolutely. No need to beat that dead horse. They got in. Now they better make some noise since they're in. That's all I got to say. SMU, don't get blown out that first game. Just don't do it.
Banks, any other intriguing matchups that you see in this first round of the college football playoffs here, as I just stated, or any one that you're looking forward to? I know you said that Notre Dame possibly overlooking Indiana, but any of those other matchups that you feel like are going to be really, really intriguing?
I'm intrigued with the Ohio State Tennessee game. I kind of like how Tennessee's playing ball now. You go up there to the horseshoe, SEC versus Big Ten. I mean, I think it's a big matchup up there. Let's see what Tennessee got. This is where a lot of Tennessee fans say they want to be at the table with the big boys. Well, here you are. Let's see what you got. Let's see if you go out there and pull that upset.
Yeah, got to see that at the table. So listen, fellas, there's one point that I want to drive home, and I was trying to be very, very PC during this podcast, but now I got to get a little ignorant. And this goes out to a fan base, an entitled fan base, that I want to specifically tell y'all, hey, listen, okay, there's no crying in college football. All right, y'all all know who I'm talking about. There's a state to the west of Georgia that feels entitled, and they feel like no matter what they do, they're supposed to have a seat at the table, no matter what and how this works. No, it does not work that way. Yeah, y'all beat Georgia in the regular season, so we'll give y'all a hand for being regular season champs, but you're not going to have a seat at the table in the college football playoffs. So all you Roll Tide, Alabama, Crimson fans, y'all can sit on the couch. Y'all can go play whoever y'all playing. In Michigan, I think it is, in y'all bowl game, and y'all can have several seats because you won't be playing for a championship this year. Nick Saban's not going to come back to save you. The committee's not going to vote again. Yes, they got it right. You did wake up this morning, and yes, y'all are not in. So please, miss me with all this mess about y'all should have got in over so-and-so, or we should have got in over them. No, you didn't. You lost 3. What? How many games did they lose, Banks? How many did they lose, Banks?
Let me say something right quick. And I got into it with the Bama fan just today, actually. We don't go by who you beat. Okay. Like you said, Leo, yeah, you beat Georgia. Congrats. You did that. But they're not going to put you in because of you beat Georgia. You know what else you did? You lost to Vandy. You lost to Oklahoma. Don't lose to Oklahoma. Well, they were ranked. Don't lose to Vandy. Don't lose to Oklahoma, and you will be in. Okay.
Definitely don't lose Vandy.
You lose. You were a 3 touchdown favorite against Vanderbilt. You only scored 6 points against Oklahoma. 6.
Yeah, boat race.
Okay, 6. Don't come at me saying about what the committee did wrong when you have 3 losses and 2 bad losses. Look, that Georgia game, that LSU game y'all won, it's canceled out by Vandy and Oklahoma.
But no, Banks, it's Bama. It's Bama.
I don't care. I don't care. Let me tell you something. If we're going by namesake, then we shouldn't even play the games. If we're going by that, we shouldn't even play the game. Just go straight into playoffs. Let the kickoff in September, and we'll just start the playoff then. Because what's the point of talking about other teams if you're going to keep putting in the blue bloods? The blue bloods. Everybody want to see Bama. Everybody want to see Clemson. Everybody want no, everybody don't. Okay, I mean, let's keep it real. If you deserving to go, if you're deserving, you're going to be there. You lost 3 games. You didn't deserve to go. SMU lost 2 games. They went to their conference championship. You do not punish them by losing on a last-minute field goal in their conference championship. Sorry, you're not going. So, boo-hoo.
And tell Nick Saban to stop crying too.
Listen, he's got to stir up some kind of controversy. He's got to put those little 2 cents in. Let me tell you something. This is mainly goes out to the Bama fans, and they still they can't grasp it.
You know why?
Listen, it's that it doesn't work that way. We're not going to look at the Crimson Tide and say y'all automatically go because of your name. If that's the case, then we got holes last year when we lost to you guys, and we didn't even make it. Right. And we only had how many losses? So don't come crying to me about that. I don't want to hear it.
You education
lost to Oklahoma. You lost to Vanderbilt. Okay? I don't care about you beating LSU. I don't care about you beating Georgia. You lost to Vanderbilt.
That's it.
And
Oklahoma.
Case closed. Hit the gavel on that.
You are done.
Done. That's it, man. So Alabama, all y'all fans miss me with that hate because you know what they done did now. Oh, Georgia, y'all ain't gonna win the shit or whatever. Y'all ain't gonna see. Y'all ain't gonna be able to get there anyway. So y'all can have several seats. Like I said, I'm glad you were able to get that off your chest, Banks. Derek, I'm glad you said what you said. Alabama. We'll see. Y'all have fun down there playing that tidy toilet bowl with me, whoever y'all got drew for that bowl game, man. Anyway, fellas, man, we are coming near the time, man, that we got to kind of wrap this thing up on this condensed edition of the ATL 3-Style Podcast. Obviously, there's another team here. We're not going to get too far off into the weeds, but there's a fun trip, man, that these guys are going to.
Hold on. Before we transition, I just got to get a shout out to my Valdosta State Blazers who are in the semifinals in Division II. One more game, baby, and they playing at home. And we're going to play for another D2 title. Shout out to my boys down there in Balducci, the Valdosta State Blazers, title town. And Coach Jackson, shout out to you because they try to run you out of there, brother. But they can't hold you back. Them can't hold you back.
Shout out to Valdosta State, man. So listen, man, transitioning, man. We'll talk briefly about this trip that Derrico and Banks are about to embark on out to Las Vegas. Fellas, all I can say is this much, man. I mean, I know you're going out there to see the Falcons versus the Raiders. Obviously, we'll kind of hold off our judgment and we'll save this to after the trip to talk about the state of the team because we don't really have enough time to go into detail about what's going on with them. So we'll talk. We'll have a full-on Falcons discussion after this game in Las Vegas. But this is going to be a great trip. It's going to be a monumental trip. All I'm going to say this much before you guys give your thoughts on this trip is I hope you guys win a lot of money out there because I don't know what's going to happen on Monday night, but I hope y'all win a lot of money because I Monday night might not be the move. But anyway, with that being said, I wish you guys a great time out there. Banks, I know you're going out there, man. You've been looking forward to this all year. This has been the highlight of your year is getting a chance to go out here to Vegas to see the Falcons play the Raiders.
Listen here, you're very glad that there's no time to get this something else off my chest, but I'm not going to go there with the birds. I'm going to go out there and have a good time on this trip. Derek Cole, I hope to see you there. We're going to go out there. We're going to represent well. But
Absolutely.
as you know, as you both know, that I have lots to say about this team in red and the other team in red and black. So I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to ball it in. I'm not going to let y'all have it yet because I know y'all don't want to hear it. But I'm going to say it eventually. And I'm going to let you know how I feel about it. And
you just let it all out. You just take it out on Vegas.
Let me
just
tell you
take
something.
it out on Vegas.
I'll see you out there, Jericho. I will see you out there.
I mean, you're going to Vegas, man. You're going to Vegas.
You better believe
you're going to Vegas. You come back and you talk about. We'll talk about the state of the Falcons after this weekend. Like I just said, man, I'm hoping y'all win a lot of money. Come back, man, and holler at your boy, man. Hook your boy up with something. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what y'all gonna do. Y'all gonna win a lot of money. Don't even think about the Monday night. Go out there and have a good time and win a lot of money. Derek Cole, your thoughts on this monumental trip?
I don't gamble, so I'm not gonna win a lot of money. So I'm gonna have to, give it to my wife and let her do her thing. But I'm not gambling. But this trip, half Atlanta gonna be in Vegas. I already know this, and I've been looking forward to this trip like Banks since it got on the schedule. I'm not a real Vegas person, but knowing that we going to Vegas, knowing that it's gonna be Peachtree West, Peachtree West out there, it's gonna be crazy. I'm looking forward to it. Banks, we definitely gonna have to hook up one day. We get there Friday. I don't know when you get there, so we got some time to try to hook up, take a drink together.
Sounds good. I get there Friday.
Talk about Leo together. You know what I'm saying? We'll talk about him later. Yeah,
we can do that.
Right,
we can really, really quick and take our shot. Really.
Yeah, man. Hey, y'all have fun. Y'all do y'all thing, man. I'm sitting this one out. Somebody got to hold it down at the crib. Somebody got to hold Atlanta down while everybody out there on Peachtree West, man. So I'm gonna hold it down for this one. And we'll look to 2025 and see what we could throw a dart at as far as away games are concerned for next year, man. But hey, it should be a great time out there, and we'll devote a whole show to the state of the Falcons when y'all come back. I don't want to get too far off into it. I want you guys to have a great time and have a level head going into it. Fellas, we've come to the end of this condensed episode of the ATL 3-Style Podcast, man. But before we get out of here, as always, we'll take care of the business. Shout out to our partners, man, that's been helping us out, man. Shout out to our boy Phil over there at Eastland's Woodworking. If you want, like Banks said, if you want some coasters, if you want a plaque, if you want anything, hit him up, man. He does custom work. He does a little bit of it all. Just hit him up, man. He got that Etsy's page right there. Got a lot of stuff on that Etsy's page. And also, man, definitely hit our boys over there at BEZ. Hit my boy Bachi over there. He'll definitely hook you up, man. It's 470-222-9927. 470-222-9927 if you definitely want to get some product for him, man. This has been another edition of the ATL 3-Style Podcast. Before we get out of here, man, Banks, let everybody know where they can find you.
Find me at Antoine Jarrell Banks at Facebook, or you can catch me at BabyBanks80 on Instagram, or you can catch you a flight to Vegas and catch me down on the Vegas Strip. Come drink one with me.
Derek Cole, let everybody know where they can find you, man.
Hey, man, they can find me right now only at Snapchat. That's Derek Cole, DJ K-Ro6 at Snapchat. Sometimes I peek in on the other ones, but yeah, I'm taking a break. It's been good too, healthy for my soul. And you also can find me down on the Vegas Strip this weekend. Come holler at your boys, Banks and Derek Cole, represent ATL 3-Style. The first shot on Banks.
Yeah, first shot on Banks.
First shot is on me. He got
it. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it here first, man. You know what I'm saying? Definitely, if you're still on social media, man, hit us up on our Facebook page or hit us up on our various accounts there. You can see on the scroll going down. If you want to hit me up as well, at Southern Set with 2 T's on Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it these days. I don't know. Once again, this has been another edition of the ATL 3-Style Podcast. We'll get at you on the next time.